Hi, this is Razor Wire, and this is a twin flame reading. This reading is for entertainment purposes only, so just take whatever resonates. And today I'm using Paulina's tarot, the Thoth, the Millenium Thoth tarot specifically, Work Your Light Oracle, and the Fountain tarot. So let's begin with the Divine Feminine. What do we need to know today for the Divine Feminine? How can the Divine Feminine move closer to union? And what do we need to know today for the Divine Masculine? And what do we need to know for the journey? What do we need to know today for the Divine Feminine? And remember, the Divine Feminine doesn't necessarily have to be female. It can, she or he can be of any gender. So what do we need to know for the Divine Feminine? What do we need to know for the Divine Masculine? Last night I had several nightmares, and I've been hearing a lot of people in the Twin Flame community talk about nightmares lately. How are you guys? Are you guys having any nightmares? What do we need to know for the journey? And what do we need to know for the Divine Feminine? And what do we need to know for the Divine Masculine? And what do we need to know for the journey? Today I'm doing all of the cards at once instead of individual. So what do we need to know for the Divine Feminine? Just a moment. What do we need to know for the Divine Masculine? What do we need to know for the Divine Masculine? And what do we need to know for the journey? Alright, so we'll start with the Divine Feminine. So let's move some of these out of the way so we have space to help the cards and have a look. And we've got quite a lot of cards for the Divine Feminine. So we have the Five of Swords. And this card, it makes it look like he's kind of walking on eggshells or tightrope, like he's really trying hard to balance so he doesn't fall over. So you might feel like you're in a very precarious situation at the moment. You might be having trouble trusting your own instincts. You might feel like the world is against you. There could be a lot of conflict, either in your life or going on in your ego. But this person is not looking very balanced. They are, feeling really uncomfortable with themselves and with their situation. They might not be being fully honest with themselves or other people about what's going on. And then we've got the Four of Cups, and this is about disillusionment, depression, loss, boredom. The man in the cards is not even looking at the cups. He's not even looking at the unopened boxes around him. He's just sort of sitting there thinking, self-absorbed, lost in thought. And then we have the Nine of Coins, which is a card of self-love. It's a card of self-love. It's a card of, using the resources that you have at hand to make the best out of your circumstances. It's about the efforts of your hard work. Your hard work is paying off. The rewards are coming. It sounds like the person in this card, whoever it refers to, does not see the blessings in their life right now. They're focused on what's missing. They're focused on what they don't have. They're focused on all of the wrong things. They're focused on ego. And what they need to be doing is focusing on self-worth. Remember that external validation, the pleasure that we experience from instant gratification or external validation, that only lasts for a few seconds, maybe a few hours at most usually. But the satisfaction that we feel when we are being true to ourselves, when we are working on selves, prioritizing our own happiness, that lasts. That happiness lasts for a lifetime. And then we've got the Page of Swords, and this is a person, usually a young person, that is not afraid of the truth. They have an open mind. They're curious. They're ready to cut through all of those stereotypes and paradigms, and explore what lies beyond that. And they want to know what lies beyond the veil of the ego. They're inquisitive. And you have the Knight of Wands, and this is a very passionate card. This man is very confident, and he's very charismatic, and he goes for what he wants, and he lets his heart lead the way. He's a little bit impulsive, guided by his instincts, very creative. So this is about learning to trust more in yourself and your own instincts. Who cares what society says over here? Trust your own instinct. Then we have the Strength card, and this card is about self-awareness, mastery, compassion, courage. This is about integrating the different aspects of self. Even those shadow selves, even the parts of ourselves that we're ashamed of or embarrassed about, the parts that we try to hide here in this Five of Swords, even those parts of self, they have a purpose, they have a function, and they, can be a blessing as well. And then we've got the Sun, and the Sun is all about abundance and nourishment and satisfaction and pleasure. So this is, making sure to just enjoy your life, to be grateful for the blessings that are already in your life. It's a reminder to look on the bright side. This card is also about illumination. You're starting to see the truth. You're starting to see that this journey, it is much more than meets the eye. And then we have, and this is a lot of major arcana coming up at the same time here. We have the Hermit's card, and that's about introspection, going within, healing. It could be about taking on a meditative practice so that you can, clear your mind, so that you can connect with and commune with spirits. It's about shining your light, raising your vibration. And then we have the Fool. So lots of major arcana coming out in the same. And this is about adventure and new beginnings and trusting your instincts and effortless action. Kind of the concept of wu-wei, which is in Taoism, effortless action, where you don't have to force anything, you just go with the flow and you follow your instincts. You do what needs to be done as it arises. It's a very natural and organic way of being. And it also makes me think of the uncarved block. And the uncarved block is, our basic nature, our essence, the part of ourselves, the part of our soul, our higher self, that is not, contaminated by anything. Like, no matter how much pain we've been through, no matter how much trauma we've experienced, no matter what we've done or said in our lifetimes, there's a part of us that remains, innocent and pure and untouched by all of that. And it's about connecting with that childlike part of yourself that is truly innocent. And then we have the Five of Cups here, which is, loss and sadness and regret forgiveness. So you may be regretting something that you have done here. You may have acted in a way that was not in keeping with your truth. You might have blocked your masculine, for example, or maybe you said some things in the heat of the moment, or maybe you gave an ultimatum in the heat of the moment, or maybe you just made some choice to stay in a relationship that was toxic, or to continue, putting toxic substances into your body. I'm completely tongue-tied right now, so maybe you are feeling a little tongue-tied. Not sure what's going on with that. And the Ten of Pentacles is about legacy. This is about tradition. It's about everything that you want coming in. It's the rewards of your hard work. And this is, in the Twin Flame journey, this is about your higher calling. It's about taking the higher perspective. It's about remembering to focus on the spiritual aspects of the journey, that abundance comes in many different forms. And we've got the Four of Swords, which is about rest and healing and relaxation. Taking time for yourself to work on self-love, to go within, as we saw with the Hermit's card. And we have the Star, so lots of arcana today. And this is about, allowing the divine to bless you, allowing those manifestations, not getting in the way of that process, going with the flow instead of going against the flow. It's about, inspiration and positive outcomes. So don't get in your own way by trying to force a timeline or force a particular paradigm onto a relationship. And then we have the Six of Pentacles. And this card is everything is working, everyone and everything is working together in perfect harmony. There's, generosity, give and take, and compassion. And this idea of seeking first to understand. So even before, you try to make yourself understood and your own point of view understood, you take the time to actually listen to what another person is saying to you. And then for the Oracle cards, we have Anna, grandmother of Jesus. So we'll read that to you. And on the bottom it says, seeding the light, laying foundations, and the divine plan. If I can find it. Here we go. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, was an ancient mystic who dedicated her life to laying the foundations for Christ consciousness to be woven through all of life. She is not widely known, but without her Christ consciousness could not be rising as it is today. Anna represents the quiet dedication that is sometimes required to live a life of service. She represents the generations that came before, that devoted their lives to dreaming a new world into being, while knowing that they would not see the glorious end result. She represents the dutiful soldier, the unconditional mother, and the mystic who can see the thread that is woven through all of life. Anna teaches us that we all have a part to play in the divine plan. It doesn't have to be the world stage doesn't have to be on the world stage to be significant. One person's part is not worthier than another. One person's part may be to mother their children, another may be to gather women in a circle each month. No part is better or worse, more important or less significant. We each have within us a seed of light that we are incarnated to share. Anna is gathering us all to remember and surrender to our parts of the plan. So this obviously is about trusting in divine timing, trusting that everything is going to work out just as it should. But it's also knowing that your own worth, knowing the value of your contribution, knowing how just raising your vibration as an individual can have a profound impact on others and on the planet. So knowing that, even if you feel like, when you think about your divine mission, it feels overwhelming. It's like, how can I change the world? I'm just one person. We can get really overwhelmed with that. We can get overwhelmed thinking about that, and maybe we don't have any, you can't even figure out what your plan is right now, but that's okay. If you're true to yourself and you just trust, you will get there, and it will be effortless. if you let it. All right, now we have the Divine Masculine. We're starting out with the Ace of Swords, which is a really powerful card. It's about truth. It's about, awareness. It's about decisions. So your masculine has had some type of realization, and now they are making a decision. They're making a concrete choice. And then we have the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is impulsivity. It is action, momentum, sudden, unexpected change. It is, a little bit of chaos in that card. The Knight of Swords doesn't always think before they act. You can think of like a soldier or a knight, where they are not, they don't question, they just act first and they question, or they ask questions later, And then we've got the Seven of Swords, which is, sneakiness and betrayal. It can feel sometimes like the whole world is out to get you, like everyone is against you, like you can't trust anyone. So your masculine might be having, trouble trusting others at the moment. They may be hurt. They might have been, I really cannot talk today. They might have been hurt before, so they're having a difficult time opening up their heart. And then we have the Ten of Swords, which is a card of surrender. This is, the silver linings, the light at the end of the tunnel. This is when things have seemingly hit rock bottom, when it feels like it can't possibly get any worse. It's in that moment, what do you do? What do you do in that moment? Do you, crumble up and die, or do you get up? Do you stand up? Do you surrender and to the process and try again? And then we have the Universe, and this is about, in this card, it's about birthing a new beginning, a new life into being. This particular image is supposed to represent the vagina and therefore birth. But you also have the snake, for shedding of the skin, shedding old patterns, shedding toxic habits, shedding toxic relationships. So this is about a cycle of completion. This person, your masculine in this case, is being reborn. They are giving birth to a new way of being. So this is the death, kind of, in a sense, and this is the birth. And then you have the Seven of Cups here, and the Seven of Cups is usually about different choices, distractions and stuff. And sometimes, we can, let things distract us to such a point that they become toxic things. They become addictions. So in this particular card, it's about those things. It's about, clearing away those toxic patterns, those dependencies, those codependencies in relationship, so that you can, purify the water, as it were. So your masculine is making a decision, it looks like, to change their life. And we have awakening, energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. Let's see if I can find. Sometimes they are hard to find in this book, I think, because it's not numbered in any way that I understand. And I'm awakening 90. Alright, here we go. You are going through a period of awakening, and we saw that with this Ace of Swords card here. Things are changing within you at many levels. You are starting to remember ancient truths and discovering more and more about who you are and why you incarnated. You may find that you are experiencing past life flashbacks, seeing the invisible thread that is woven through all of life, or even feeling Kundalini Shakti rise through your body from the base of your spine. The most important thing for this time is not to overthink it and to stay grounded. Share your experiences with like-soul people while you consciously integrate them. Journal and pay attention to your dreams. You are remembering and your soul gifts are emerging. During this time of transition and awakening, you may be called to devote yourself to being of service. There are ideas, truths, concepts, books, and creations waiting to be birthed into this world. Stay open to receiving them. Pulling this card may be a sign that you are here to birth one of these creations into the world, or perhaps you are being called to make a shift in your life in order to be of service. Don't think too much about it. Instead, repeat the following work light activation. I surrender to my awakening. I allow the Shakti energy to rise from the base of my spine. I open myself up to the universe, using me in a way that delights my mind, body, and spirit. So your masculine right now is going through awakening. They're starting to, release the toxic habits in their life. They are being born. They're being born again. Their lives are being born again. They are starting to become aware of their purpose on this spiritual journey. They are awakening spiritually. Now let's see what we have for the journey. We've got the 10 of Pentacles, which is about security and prosperity and legacy and, everything that you worked hard for, coming in. It's about abundance. And it's not necessarily, abundance in the form of material wealth. This can be spiritual abundance. This can be having love or having good friends. And then we've got the Empress. And the Empress, is about fertility. She's also about, abundance of opportunities. She's about harmony and peace. And, when you see her, you think of a woman who's very in tune with nature. She acts, with the highest good in mind. She is a nurturing, loving, supportive woman. And this is, the divine feminine, a representation of the divine feminine, in her power. And then we have the Eight of Wands, which is about movement and communication and rapid action and change. This can also indicate, social media contact through social media. Then we have the Five of Swords, and this is about regret. It's that fear of being found out or getting caught. And we've got the Devil here for temptation. Temptations, ego, instant gratification, focusing, on external things in order to find happiness. It's that I want. It's about ambition in the negative sense. It's wanting a certain outcome so bad that you're willing to compromise yourself. And then we have the Lovers, which is the connection. When you, I can't quite remember what the Devil and the Lovers together means. It could mean, lost or third party type situations, or, stuff like that. It could indicate more lust, but the Lovers, is a card of choices, and making choices, and it is a card of connection. And in this card, you have a letter in the bird's beak, and you have this so maybe you have one of you has sent, a letter to the other, and maybe you are starting to regret what you've sent, what you've communicated to the other person. And the Eight of Cups. And again, this is kind of a card to remind you to focus more on the spiritual rather than the external, rather than the superficial. So this kind of indicates that maybe you have focused on the 3D, that you've been attached to particular outcomes, and that has caused you to behave in a way that you now regret. And you may feel like everything is lost, that all hope is lost at the moment. But it isn't. I mean, because we have the Empress and the Ten of Pentacles, you know, showing you that things are moving forward, that everything that happens on the journey, it happens for a reason. It happens for your spiritual growth and development. Some things that we go through are hard. Sometimes we get caught up in ego. We make choices that we regret. It could be that one of you is going to come forward with some type of apology because you behaved in a particular way. Then we have the Knight of Swords, and then we had this before, you know, which is about impulsivity and, you know, direct. And this is somebody who's not afraid of confrontation and direct action, and you know, this is someone who is very. It's very how do you explain? It's kind of that toxic masculinity type thing, you know, where when they want something, they go for it and they don't really care who gets, you know, hurt in the process. You know, they just go for what they want. And we're seeing that a lot with these cards. We're seeing that in the Five of Swords with the regret, and we're seeing it in the Devil card and the Eight of Cups. So it could be that, you know, one of you acted very impulsively and you're kind of regretting that. And you're wanting to make amends, you're wanting to make an apology because you know, ultimately this is, you know, what you want. You want that happily ever after. But now you feel like, oh, God, I've done something that maybe is unforgivable. And next we have don't dim to fit in. And this is about not making yourself small for others. You know, this is a reminder not to settle. This is a reminder also not to try and fit the twin flame relationship into the typical, you know, relationship paradigm. That's when we get in trouble, when we try to force things, when we try to force, you know, the twin flame connection to be just another, you know, romantic relationship, just another situation of boy meets girl, boy gets girl or something, you know, when we focus on all those external things, with having things in a certain way, you know. So, you know, remember that both of you deserve, you know, the fully realized versions of yourself. You guys are worthy. That's something to keep in mind, that you are worth more than that. You know, you have a divine purpose, a divine calling. You know, allow yourself to become what you were meant to become, to be the best, become the best versions of yourself, you know, and don't settle, you know, don't, you know, if you're masculine or feminine is not ready yet and they're in a very toxic place and they're lashing out and, you know, it just doesn't feel good, it just doesn't feel right, then give it time, you know, take a step back, give it some time, you know, let that person heal, you know, don't settle for, you know, a relationship just to have a relationship, you know, don't you know, do that just so you're not lonely. You know, sometimes we get in a relationship just because we're lonely, and that's not what we really want. That's not what our heart is saying to us. So basically, remember to trust your heart. And if you have done something that you're regretting on the journey, if you have acted impulsively, if you have, you know, put your twin in a tight spot, remember first you forgive yourself and then you heal, and your twin will always forgive you. So just give it time, give it space. Well, that has been a twin flame reading. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe.